Wyclef Jean, BKS1 Radio. Let's go.
This is Essence Atkins, and this is BKS1 Radio.
Hi, this is Melba Moore, and you're listening to BKS1 Radio.
Yo, check it out. What's the deal? This the chef. Giving a big shout out to my peoples. Big KS, you already know what it is. Salute.
What's up? It's your girl Monifa, and I'm hanging with BKS1 Radio.
Hi, I'm Iyanla Van Zandt, and you're listening to BKS1 Radio.
BKS Radio, baby.
Hey, this is Jasmine Guy for BKS1 Radio.
What's going on? This is Lamont Rooker, and this is BKS1 Radio.
Shout out to BKS1, the best kept damn secret in the business.
Hey, what's up? This is Raven Goodwin from BET's Being Mary Jane, and shout out to BKS1.
Hi, this is Leon, and you're watching BKS1 Radio.
BKS1. God bless y'all.
Welcome to BKS1 Radio. It's your girl Latoya Chanel right here on the Owl Show. Can you hear me? Are we good? I think we are.
Testing,
all right.
Yes.
It is another Tuesday, y'all. I'm excited because
yes.
Oh, okay. Other way. I'm excited because, as we mentioned in our show maybe a couple of weeks ago, it is Sextober, y'all.
Yes.
Do y'all remember that? Do y'all remember the fact that we said that the rest of October was going to be Sextober, and we were going to be delving into the topic of sex, and especially the topic of sex as you get older. You know, we already had health class, yes, right, in middle school.
Yes, we did.
We went through that part. What they do not tell you is that as you get older, things will change. And that's what we had started talking about a couple of weeks ago, because as you remember, we were talking about perimenopause.
Yes.
And all the ladies in the comments and in the chat were just saying, you know, different things about perimenopause. And then I chimed in and why are you laughing? I chimed in and I said, ladies, I got something for y'all and you're not going to like it. Use it or lose it. I don't know if y'all remember when I said that. I said use it or lose it, and I gave a couple of reasons why. And we started talking about, obviously, extended.
What's the reason? In my Cardi B voice. What's the reason?
We started we started talking about, extenuating circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I know I had mentioned uterine prolapse and you being a nurse.
Yes.
You were just saying, like, you have seen certain things that happen when you don't use it, mm-hmm, and you begin to lose it. We started talking about things like inverted clitorises. Yes. And, I had a cousin who had hit 50-something, mm-hmm, and wasn't using it at the time.
Oh, okay.
And her gynecologist said to her the very same thing, like, sis, I hate to tell you, you're either going to use it or you're going to lose it. Like, things start to not work the way they once did because you stopped using it. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about this from the perspective of, obviously from a female's perspective, but then we started talking about, the men too. And we started talking about, erectile dysfunction, yes, is a very real thing. And even though men don't like to talk about it because it may make them feel something. I don't know. I'm not a man. But it may make them feel some kind of way, mm-hmm, right? And so I know a lot of people will just not talk about it. But the fact of the matter is that it's very real. It's very real. Your body changes. We are women and men of a certain age, and things change. So I said I was going to do my due diligence. I said I was going to find someone who actually is a doctor, because I am not, to talk about these things and the feelings behind it, the physical part behind it, what it is we can do, or, all the things at this particular time. And so here we are. So listen, before we go into that, though, how are you today?
I am good today. Couple things I want to get out the way before we get and delve into this conversation. Mm-hmm. First is paying homage to a beautiful soul, yep, Mr. D'Angelo. Yep. OMG. Yep. I did not wake up and expect to hear of his passing today.
Yeah.
That is an intricate part of the 90s for us.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Him and Angie Stone.
Yeah.
Back to back, I feel like. and I just want to my condolences sincerely to his son.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what that feels like to lose two parents so close together.
Yeah.
So we really need to keep that young man. And I'm not saying, I mean, for the other kids too, because he was in their life too, but I'm just saying for him, you know, the parents that he came into this world where he no longer has.
Yeah.
And I just want to say my condolences and shout out. And I've been playing Black Messiah. Like a lot of people don't understand what he added to music, both Angie and him, what they added to music. And he was very well, had a lot of struggles or whatever, but very well, you know, made it.
Yeah.
And weight was one of his struggles, right? Weight was one of his struggles. And long as he was skinny, everybody thought he was sexy or whatever. When he started gaining weight, and which is more recently too, he was a bigger guy when he was older. Then he kind of, you know, when he did that How Does It Feel, everybody thought he was a sex icon. Yeah. And then when he kind of gained weight afterwards, which, you know, happens when it comes to when you're in treatment and things like that, you do gain weight most times. You lose it or you gain it, depending on if you're on steroids or something like that. But anyway, just long story short, just, you know, keeping, you know, I just feel like our childhood is just going somewhere. You know,
we ain't as young as we
the old ones.
Listen,
but he was 51, so like,
look,
young.
we not as young as we once were.
You right.
We got probably more.
We the aunties.
Well,
now
we got more days behind us
than in front of us.
You know what I mean?
All right, bless God. But anyway,
you know.
so I just want to say that everything is going pretty good. You know, I don't know. I'm good. I'm ready to delve into this conversation.
Who are you? Okay. All right. So listen.
But if you see me distracted, it's because I am sharing the show. I have to make that announcement because my kids and everybody is always like, "Mom, you're on your phone." But it's because I want to share the show to as many people that will listen, and as many people. A lot of people sometimes don't actively listen to it while it's live. A lot of people go back and listen to it if they're occupied at work. So we do leave it on our pages and everything. We also do like a snippet of the next week. We'll say what you missed on our page, so they'll get a snippet of our guest and her how she feels and all the things that she's gonna enlighten us about.
Yes.
So
and then also remember we have our live event this week. So if you are in the area, here we go. I'm gonna just pull this up. If you are in the area, as you know, Queen Bee and I do our show live before a live studio audience. We have had 2 very successful sold out events throughout the year, and this is our 3rd installment as a part of the Queen City Film Festival. So we have October 16th, Thursday night at Plant-Based Dispensary. We are going to have actor Tobias Trevelyan and his wife Michelle, and we are going to be talking about the balance of Black love in the entertainment industry.
Right.
So, you know, we always talk about, you know, the Black love experience. How do we bridge the gap so that we can continue to get together and create families, and let's you know, have the tough conversations and all the things, right? But now, because it's a part of the film festival, we are talking about that from the entertainment perspective. And so these are people who have been in this industry a very, very, very long time. And it's like, how y'all stay together? Can I just come out and say that? How y'all stay together?
Give us the
Because when you work in entertainment on any level, and you have a partner, trust and believe there is a balancing act that needs to be done. We actually just heard Andre, who, shout out to him, had his play in Brooklyn over the weekend. He said the more he got into this, that he just completely said, absolutely not. I will never be in a relationship as long as I'm a creative. Right. You know, so you have people that feel like that, and you have other people that have long-standing, successful marriages throughout all of the pressures and the time away and, you know, all of the things. So how do you do that, you know, is the question. So if you want to come out, there's still a couple of seats left.
Yes.
Please make sure you go to qcffnj.com, grab your ticket, and come out and see us on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And, you know, you could be a part of the discussion. That's what the live studio audience is. We have some other actors who are going to be in the event with us, and, you know, they're in the audience, so they're going to be talking about, you know, their perspective, their space. Some are single, some are married, some are, you know, whatever it is, right? So either way, it should be very, very interesting. Listen, I'm probably on the Z list as far as entertainment is concerned, but I can tell you some stories about trying to juggle this, and I listen, it ain't easy. Okay, it is not
It's not easy.
easy. That's that's it. That's all I know. That's all I know. But in the meantime, it's Sextober. So since it is Sextober, we're going to get into it. Now, I said to you at
And
the
I'm
end.
a student, okay? So I'm gonna do a lot of listening. All right.
I said at the end of that last show, I was going to do my due diligence and I was going to find a therapist. And I said, and I wanted a black therapist because, that's what we do. So in the meantime, y'all please help me welcome all the way from California, LA.
LA.
Yeah. Y'all please help me welcome from LA into the virtual building, everybody, Miss Janelle. Is it doctor or miss?
It's Miss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Janelle Watson, everybody.
Thank you.
This is Miss
Yes,
Janelle.
doctor. I think maybe we're about a year and a half out from doctor. But yes.
God bless you. God bless you, because I can't go back to school. So
I got one more school in me.
Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
not at all. No, she got my last degree,
Yeah.
so we good. But in the meantime, yes, please welcome. Tell everybody what it is that you do, your credentials, your everything, so that they can't say, well, she don't know because she's a,
Sure. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a practice here in California. I see clients virtually throughout the state. And I specialize in perinatal mental health as well as sex therapy. So the sex therapy is a little bit more obvious in the things that you kind of cover in sex therapy, but it also has to do with dysfunction, with regards to having sex or sex acts or engagement in how you feel about yourself, body image, all of these things that kind of encompasses all of that is in sex therapy. And then perinatal mental health has to do with anything around pregnancy or family planning or the preconception, pregnancy, postpartum, anything that has to do with that. That is my specialty and how we wrap our minds around that process in life, even if the decision is to not have children, and how to navigate that in a world that, especially these days, is definitely pushing for people to have children by any means necessary, despite whether you want to or not. So those are my specialties. I also specialize in LGBTQ couples and individuals as well, identity formation, life transitions, the whole gamut. Those would be my specialties.
Okay. Nice. Can I ask? Okay, so again, it's Sextober for us. So we're going to be talking about all things sex, especially as we're getting older, women in perimenopause, men whose bodies are changing as well, midlife crises, and all the things.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, as a therapist, is there a recurring issue that you're seeing lately? Is there something that's like coming up and you're like, I'm seeing a lot of what?
What's the trends in us?
Yeah.
I would say with the clients that I see, the biggest trend that I think is also mimicked in a lot of people's lives has to do, it's related to anxiety, but it has to do with the anxiety around things changing your identity or sense of self. And what I mean by that is when people usher into, whether it's a new relationship, a new job, becoming a parent, losing a child, whatever it is, people often get caught up in well, what does that mean about me? Who am I now that I now have this or that I don't have this? Yeah. And so trying to wrap your mind around how you label yourself or who you are as a person is, I think, what comes up the most. Because I think that is related to a lot of the things that people are trying to work through. It's like, I don't know who I am outside of being so-and-so's wife. I don't know who I am outside of being so-and-so's mom. And so you get a lot of, how do I figure this out while also still showing up in my life every day?
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of identity stuff. It's a lot of who am I and how can I settle in who I now am.
Even in the sexual realm, it's identity. Why?
Yes, especially when we're talking about, and I know this is not the topic for today, but especially when it comes to pregnancy.
Okay.
When it comes to, my body used to function and be meant for X.
Yeah.
Now I'm pregnant or just had a baby, and now my body's function is completely different.
Yeah.
And what used to be sexual is now functional. or what used to be available for my partner is now off limits.
But I feel that way.
Yeah.
Even though it's not about pregnancy with me, I feel that way. I feel like my body has definitely changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am not as, confident, I think, as I used to be. So I agree with that. So it does something to your mind. Like you go through all these changes and you are just trying to figure out like, what you, like you said, what you used to do that, like, I was very sexual. I'm just saying I was very sexual, to be transparent. But I just feel like with perimenopause, with finances that are tight, with jobs, stress.
Yeah.
All of the factors, I think when you really get down to it, you're like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I don't, and it's too much thought into it where it would be just natural and normal. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, there's a lot to that, especially when it comes to, because if we're talking about sex, if we're talking about the mechanics of sex, as we get older, the ways that our body function, it's a little bit different the older we get. When we're talking about somebody having, being wetter than they've ever been in their youth, that is something that does dry up a little bit as we get older. And so the thought of having, I might have to use vaginal suppositories, I might have to use lube, I might have to use these things, that also shifts this sense of, well, I used to just be able to do it, and now my body's not doing that. What does that mean as far as what I bring to this sexual relationship? What does it mean as a woman when those things that used to be so organic, I now have to manufacture them in a way? Yeah.
What is good sexual health? Is there a such thing?
Yes, that's a good question.
Good sexual health, to me, I think good sexual health is informed sexual health. I think good sexual health it's like one part informed and another part application to what works for you is good sexual health. And so I would say having a lot of information or being open to learning new information about sexual health is one part of it. But it's also, okay, I have this information. How does that apply to me? Or what do I think about that? Or how does that align with my values or not? And then the third part would be, do I have a situation where I feel okay with executing then what I would like to do? And so I think those three components are helpful when it comes to thinking about sexual health. Because I'll tell you, sexual health or good sexual health might exist in one person, but if you're in a relationship with somebody that it doesn't, that also changes things a bit. So I might have a healthy sense of sex or a healthy relationship with sexuality or with the information and how I want to execute. But if I'm with a partner who is very shut off to it, who's very closed-minded, who does not want to talk about it, who does not want to collaborate, then that impacts my ability to execute. So it can't just exist in the individual. If you're in a relationship, it also has to exist within the relationship.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Now, okay.
Yeah.
I want you to speak to men right now, right? Explain to them some of the things that you have come across as women are going into perimenopause.
Oh my God,
sexually.
yes.
Some of their concerns, some of the things that you hear, so that men will understand. Because and I want to tell you,
speak to the women. Okay, we talked about this prior to the show. Speak to the women who are with women.
Yes, that too.
Who are going
perimenopause.
through perimenopause.
No, but let me tell you why.
It's the partner thing.
Wait, but let me tell you why I said the men part. Because we had a show last year where the men were saying, well, I didn't like dealing with this woman because her smell changed. I didn't like being with this woman because not only did her smell change, this was dry, her pH was off, this was that. And we went through this whole thing and we were like, oh God. And trying to explain to a bunch of men the changes that women's bodies go through. And unfortunately for us, the ones who were still out here dating, so you still have to be like, oh my God, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to not look bad in front of him, all of those things, right? And so it's like we were trying to explain that, and we had a full panel of gentlemen, and they were airing out their grievances. And so I just want you to explain. Yusuf said I'm here. I just want you to explain to everyone, even women who may not even be going through it yet, some of the things that you hear when people come to your office and are saying, I am going through perimenopause, sex for me is like what?
The way I would answer this and the way I would speak to them, because I'm going to change it a little bit, is I need for us, for them, for everybody to understand that there is no one way to go through life and life changes. And what I mean by that is the way that perimenopause shows up for me is going to be different than the way it shows up for you in a lot of ways. And I think that where we get it wrong is that we expect that one person that we heard about to be the whole story for everybody. Well, so-and-so didn't go through that. So-and-so still tasted the same. They didn't have any of this brain fog. They didn't have this weight gain. They didn't have any of these issues, yada, yada, yada. And they didn't even start to have any symptoms of menopause or perimenopause till they were like 60. That's great for them. I need us to stop looking at the one and making it the rule for everybody. Because I think that's where we get caught up. I think that's where we get caught up in a lot of phases of life where we say, well, so-and-so, that wasn't their issue, so it shouldn't be an issue for any of you. And unfortunately, you do see that a lot, happening a lot with men, where it's like, well, I don't see why this is an issue because it's not an issue for me. It's like, well, you and I are very different. And what we got going on is very different. And our relationship to talking about what we're going through is very different. So you might be okay with, hey, I have some erectile stuff going on. I'm not going to talk about that. I have some, other things going on. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to be stoic and I'm going to push through. I don't understand why my woman can't be stoic and push through too. We're not the same. We don't do things the same. So if I want to talk about it, if I want to say, hey, I don't like it when you shut down when we have sex because maybe you don't enjoy the way that I taste anymore, or you don't enjoy this thing, that's going to be a problem for me. So if I had to talk directly to men, I would say that talking through what's going on is going to be your best bet, because that's the only way you're going to get to know what's actually going on for her. Otherwise, we're only working off assumptions. We're only working off of stereotypes, and that's not going to help anybody. You're not dating women. You're not married to women. You are dating and married to that woman.
Person. Yes, that person.
Yeah.
And that's the same. And that's the same for men that are experiencing, erectile dysfunction as well, right?
Yeah. Or erectile changes, and even the labels that we give to things. Sometimes we'll call things, erectile dysfunction when they struggle to get it up once. Not the same thing. No, that's not the same. Thing. Or there was somebody who wasn't really into having sex at the moment, and so it's like, oh, because she's frigid. Oh, because no, I didn't want to have sex that time for whatever reason. It's fine. We can talk about that. We don't have to put labels on things all the time and make a big deal. Now, if you do have that diagnosis, you do have that label, then sure, then let's work from that. But let's not assume that because it happened 1 or 2 times and I'm this damaged good and there's no turning back.
Talking about it's not 1 or 2 times. It's multiple times.
It's not 1 or 2.
Right.
But do women have, because as we talked before, I am married to a female, of course. And and I know you specialize in LGBTQ as well. Do you see any problems in that?
I do, but especially, and the thing that I said before really tracks here. When you think about the fact that you guys are not going to go through it in the same way necessarily. And so even if you two were the same age, y'all wouldn't necessarily usher into this at the same time. You wouldn't necessarily have the same symptoms. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Somebody's sex drive might go right up through the roof and somebody else's is going to go right down in the tank. That is what that is for that person. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in sync. It's unfortunate when it's not in sync because now y'all got to navigate two different people going through very different things.
Now, Doc, how? What would you tell your patients if one's is up and the other's is down? What exactly would you tell them to kind of get it back or just get it congruent or, you know, or just, I don't know.
Well, and it's funny you use the phrase to get it back. I love when people mention that phrase because I hate that phrase. I don't like that phrase because there is no getting back to anything. Do you know what I mean? Like it's about moving forward. It's not about looking in your rear view and trying to grasp the thing that you lost because you're not the same person that you were back then. There's a lot of life that happened between then and now.
No, you're right, but I was hanging from chandeliers. You understand?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
So maybe instead of free hanging from chandeliers, maybe you need a little ladder to help in case you need a break from hanging from the chandelier.
I want to tell you that you're absolutely right because within the 5 years, life happened in some of the worst ways. I will say that.
Yeah.
Right. And then when your body changes along with that, and you do get the brain fog, or you get the career change, or you get just the move, or you get just whatever is, someone dies, whatever it is, there definitely is a disconnect. But I just want to know how to work to not, I won't use the term get it back, but to
rekindle something.
Like, you know what I mean? You know? Light the fire, Doc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because the thing is, when you have these changes that are going on, and parallel to you, your partner has these changes going on, and y'all are trying to figure out how to connect, you're also relearning what it means to connect with that person. You're relearning what it is that you now either enjoy doing or don't enjoy doing. You're mourning the stuff that maybe you wish you could have, been able to do or still want to do. There's a lot of stuff that's happening at the same time that y'all are trying to figure out and trying to establish what your new normal is going to be. And that may not include the stuff that you used to do. And it's okay to mourn that. And I do say mourn, even though some people think that, you should only use that word when you're talking about people passing away, but that's a piece of you that was important.
That's a version of you
of one's identity.
Gone. Yeah, you can mourn that. Yeah.
That's true. I didn't even think
of it like that. And it's okay to do that. And it's okay to look at your partner and go, you know what? I might need to get to know you better in this stage of our lives. Because to your point, while all this stuff is going on, life is happening. And life is going on. And all of these things are not happening in vacuums separate from each other. You are impacted by the losses that you're experiencing. As we all get older, the people around us, they're dying. They are passing away. We have new roles that we have in people's lives that we didn't have before. I have to take care of parents now instead of just having to take care of myself, or if I had kids, taking care of the kids. These are all things that affect this, and anything that affects this affects that.
So that's
I'm glad you said to.
That's what I was about to say.
In a partnership, relearning your partner, right? Because of all of the external factors, you may have to relearn your partner and renew your attraction to them. So as you're getting to know yourself, as you're re-finding this new sensual version of you, this new confident version of you, it's like, with your partner, okay, now I'm attracted to how my partner does this. Maybe 10 years ago they did that, but now they do this. And so now I'm attracted to this part of them or this version of them or, this now. So that finding new things to be attracted to in your partner, I think is a,
I agree. And what I want to ask you this too. I want to know what you but what would you like to convey to people about sexual satisfaction when it comes to partnership or when it just comes to individuality, right? What would you want people to know?
With sexual satisfaction, I feel like there is not a finish line when it comes to stuff like that. There is not a destination. There is not an ultimate outcome. I have arrived, sexually satisfied, period.
Okay.
That is something that is constantly evolving and constantly changing. And you find out the more exploring that you do, the more you may find things that you like. And I would love for people to not lose the curiosity of looking and seeing what are the things that they like. If they are, single, exploring for yourself, looking at things for yourself, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with, there might be some people who have an idea of when you're supposed to start having sex, when you start dating somebody. Well, I've developed my own sense of when that's supposed to happen and what I'm comfortable with doing and what I'm comfortable doing with you versus what I do by myself or whatever. You get to develop that over time. That was probably different when you were 20 and then when you were 30 and then when you were 40 because it constantly evolves because you're exposed to different things, you're exploring different things, you're curious about different things, or you shut down a few things. I had a colleague who said that at her aunt's 50th birthday, she announced to the whole party, she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm 50. I will never give another blowjob again. My blowjob days are over. I'm done.
That's
done.
Okay.
I am retired. I've done it enough.
Great announcement.
That's it."
Yeah.
And you know what? Hey, you get to do that. You get to decide that. So it's that sexual satisfaction is something that it has the potential to constantly evolve. And it's something that I wish that people would feel okay with exploring as much as they see fit. Obviously, within the realm of like legality and all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But explore it because it's with you until the day you die. So explore that sexual side, that sensual side and pleasure.
I'm glad she said that. I literally had that conversation yesterday.
Okay.
I'm not, I literally had that conversation yesterday about satisfaction at this particular age and at satisfaction. Satisfaction at this age and what will get you off now isn't what got you off before. And I was having a conversation and was saying, it's different now.
It's different, and it's okay that it's different. Yeah. And it might have been hanging from the chandelier, when you were younger, and maybe it is strictly in the bed, and that's fine. Maybe it was doggy style and reverse cowgirl and all this kind of stuff, and now it's just missionary city, and that's fine. Whatever it is, if it's giving you what you are wanting and needing, that's the point. Ain't nobody watching. Who's there? Nobody.
Right. You right.
Right.
You right.
Okay.
Missionary City.
We're not doing it for the
TV.
You right. Listen, I like Missionary City.
Missionary City. So what Yusuf said when you were talking about the men and women before, he said men are expected to be ever ready. I mean, I maybe. I don't know.
100%.
Really? Yes. Why you say that?
Okay. Men, there is a pressure that is placed on men to always want sex, to always be ready for sex, and to have sex to a degree that will have you, singing to the heavens. That is the expectation. And if you do anything less than that, then you are less of a man, you are talked about, you are whatever. And this is, for some people, they may not feel that way, but a lot of people, that is the pressure that they are feeling.
Not that I think that, of course I'm learning whatever you're teaching. I'm because again, we live inside of our bodies. You are a teacher of this. So this is what you do. I live in my own body. I'm a woman. I live in a woman's body. I live in a woman's mentality. You know what I mean? But my thing is, I feel like on the other hand, they have to be ever ready, but I feel like we can never say no. Like, you understand what I'm saying? I feel like...
Oh, I do.
Okay, go ahead. Can we talk about that?
Well, no, because two things can be true at the same time. Because misogyny doesn't make sense, you guys. Because it's something that it's a pressure, it's an expectation. Because let's see, how deep do I want to take this? Because the problem is, when you're thinking about men and the way that men are pressured to be in this ever ready, ever sexual side of things, to not do that, at least from what I hear from other people and their whisperings, is that, well, if you couldn't get it up, then that must mean you're gay, because being gay is the worst thing that men could be, apparently. But it's like, that's not a thing. That's not true.
Right.
But if you're not ever ready, there must be something wrong with you. If you're not here to do the one thing that you're supposed to do, which is be hard and be here and ready to do what you're supposed to do, that's a problem. It's like, men also need to be in the mood to have sex. Men also need to be able to consent or withdraw consent. Men also, it's like, men also, till the cows come home. It's not just that women are the gatekeepers of sex, which is how we're set up to be. You know, we are the gatekeeper. We are the ones who decide whether we have sex or we don't. It's also that men are also participating in this, and this should be a collaborative effort, not an expectation, not a sea of expectations, I should say.
Okay.
So it is, it's true. I would definitely agree that that is a pressure that resides on them, and their inability to show up hard and ready to go
and perform
is a huge blow.
Okay. Okay.
Can we talk about that a little more?
Yeah.
Can we talk about it? Because, you know, we are at an age now where men are experiencing, like you said, we don't want to make everything dysfunction, but there's some sort of something is going on, right? So the same way that we are going through perimenopause and there are things that are going on, there's also men get to certain ages and to a certain point where there are things that start happening, right? So can we talk about the stigma around that, especially in Black men? You know, there's the stigma of, no, I can't talk about it if I didn't get hard once or twice or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. You know what I mean? It's like, can we talk about the stigma surrounding that?
Yeah. In my experience, I have noticed that when it comes to health in general, there are many men who lean on their partners, their women partners, to determine how healthy they are. And let me set this up a little bit, because when it comes to STDs, for example, you will get men who determine whether or not they have an STD is based on whether or not the person they're sleeping with has one.
That is the truth.
So if they don't have one, then I don't have one.
I don't have it.
So why do I need to go and get tested if she's fine? I've heard it time and time again. I didn't mention this in my intro, but I used to work at a reproductive health clinic. Time and time, you would have partners being drug in, like, "Hey, you need to get tested." Why? She's fine. She's fine. I don't need to do that.
Wow.
So it's like, so the wagon is hitched to the health of their partner. By the same token, if they're outside of sexual health is fine, like if they don't have any, heart problems, this, that, and the third. If she's healthy, that must mean that I'm healthy, because I'm doing the same thing that she's doing. So why do I need to go to the doctor? Why do I need to get checked out? There tends to be an aversion, I've noticed, to men going to the doctor. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is, but there is this hesitation and this aversion to going. I'm mentioning all this because if there's somebody who comes to my practice, and any sex therapist practice, usually they will do this. If a man comes in with a complaint about issues with erection, the first thing that they're going to tell you to do, or the first thing they're going to ask you, is when's the last time you had a physical? Because what we're going to do is have you go and get checked out for your physical, because that could be a blood flow issue, not a psychological issue. That could be a heart condition issue, because that's a blood flow issue, not a psychological condition. I would never want a man to come into my practice and I'm treating him for 6 months to a year about how he feels about sex when actually he had a medical condition that went undiagnosed.
Yeah, right.
So the erectile stuff is related to the medical stuff. The medical stuff is related to you actually going to the doctor and getting checked out. So if that's not happening, if you don't have a good relationship with getting health checkups, with talking to medical professionals about what's going on and getting that solved, you're going to be hard pressed to really get at the root of what's causing you to have difficulty getting an erection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of that is connected. And so it becomes a bigger issue around, if you don't have a good relationship with getting checked out and making sure that you are healthy and that you're okay, this stuff is going to come in, and that's going to be the trigger that gets you to actually go in.
Yeah.
Now, when do you recommend that a couple needs sex therapy? When should you know?
Sex therapy.
Or because some people need it. It'll be a benefit to their life. When exactly do you sign up for that?
I need alcohol.
Exactly 2 years and 3 months. No, you sign up for it. I would say usually when people decide that they are going to go into couples therapy, for a lot of them, it probably was a lot later than they could have gone in to check on how their relationship is doing, or they have a little tune-up or something. I think sometimes people wait until they have this huge glaring issue and then they'll go in. If there's this big explosive thing that happened, maybe it's infidelity, maybe there was some sort of trauma or something that happened in their relationship, but usually it's related to some sort of a big event that they can no longer ignore, and so they go in for therapy.
Okay.
Which is fine. We can do that, but there was probably an earlier stage where that could have been beneficial. And I've definitely had couples who come in, and I think the trend that I'm seeing is that couples are starting to come into therapy a lot earlier and not only when they have these huge issues. But I've had people who come in and they're like, well, I don't think that we really have any issue, but I thought it was a good idea that we talk to somebody. And I'm like, thank you. I love that. Yes, because that is where we can actually do some work a lot sooner than when we have 10, 15 years of issues that we have to wade through and pull through. It's kind of like trying to get to, if you think of the cartoon Sleeping Beauty, how he had to go through the weeds and the thorns to get to the castle.
Yes.
That's kind of what that's like. So as a therapist, you have to tear through all of that, and the castle is the actual issue.
Okay.
That is what that is. So the sooner you go in to talk to somebody, individual or couples therapy or family therapy, the sooner you go in, the better it is for you to learn some skills when you're less stressed and you're less taxed as a couple or as an individual, so that you can start to deploy some of these coping skills to help when life inevitably happens.
And that pretty much is what you teach, like coping skills to kind of get back. And do you give activities to do with one another?
I'm not a homework, or at least like written homework. I'm not a written homework heavy therapist. There are some therapists who are very much like, here are your worksheets. This is what we're going to do. I don't tend to do a whole lot of that, at least not until I've gotten to know them a little bit more. The beginning stages of couples therapy is mostly going to be getting you the history of this relationship. So how you guys met, you know, how did we get to kind of this point? Where have y'all been up to? Do y'all have kids? What was the birth experience like? All of that stuff. I want to get that so I can get grounded in how best to approach you all and how y'all function. And in the throes of doing that, y'all probably will have a disagreement in front of me that I will let run, that I will let unfold a little bit, because I want to see how you argue. I want to see how you work that out. I want to see when somebody says something in a tone, what is that reaction that the other person had? What does the shutdown look like? Because inevitably you will shut down at some point because somebody will say something sassy and then, think that nobody heard it. It's like, no, I saw it. I heard it. Okay. And so it helps to gather a lot of information. So then I know how to talk to you all and how to intervene and how to assign, homework if we do get to the homework phase of things.
Do you also see that a lot of times in couples, whether it be LGBTQ type of couples or just heterosexual, do you see their perceptions of sex being an issue and they are different, which is causing a disconnect or whatever? Do you see that?
Mm-hmm, I do. And usually it's has to do with frequency of sex, type of sex they're having, or issues around porn and different values and thoughts around watching porn and what that means. So those three, I think, come up the most.
Or the top, okay.
And it can be difficult, and it can be pretty apparent that this is probably one of the first times that they've had that conversation. That's not usually a conversation that people have before they get married or before they have this kind of commitment. I would love it if people have these conversations earlier in the dating and earlier in this process, because I need to know this is all about informed consent. I need to know what I'm getting into. So if you're into some real wild, whatever sexual stuff, I need to know that so I know if I'm okay with joining that or if, that's not for me. Or I'm curious, I want to know a little bit more about that, and vice versa about whatever it is that I like or don't like.
Is there a healthy frequency at this age?
Of how many times one has sex?
Yes.
I wouldn't, in a week.
I wouldn't attribute a number because it's going to be different for everybody. There are some people who, well, let's be real. There are some people who could not have sex again and they would be fine. Like, sex is not a huge deal for them. Sex is not a huge priority for them at whatever stage of life that they're in. And they're perfectly fine just being with their partner, and they're okay with that. There are some people who was like, look, I have a pretty good masturbation regimen And I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I don't really feel the need to have to do it with another person because I never know if they're in the mood when I'm in the mood. Sometimes it's just easier for me to take care of myself, and I'm fine with that. No resentment, no anything. That's just okay for how we function. So in the same way, some people might want to have it a lot more often, some people less often. It's just about trying to find that balance between the two of you. But no, I wouldn't say that, oh yes, 3 times a week would be right on target. That would be on target for that person, not necessarily for every couple.
I mentioned at the start of the show, I had said a gynecologist had said, use it or lose it. Right? So in the use it or lose it, so if you're using it, whether you're using it with somebody, whether you're using it by yourself, can we speak a little bit to the use it or lose it comment that I had received from a gynecologist? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say I would align with use it or lose it, but there would be more in parentheses after it. So it would more so be use it or lose track of who you are and what you like and why you're doing what you're doing and who you want to do it with. So, and what I mean by that is using it would be you staying plugged in and tapped into what it is that you want, who you want to do it with, or what you want from them, and how you are going to evolve throughout these years of your life. So by using it, I mean, think about it. I'm all about intentionality. Intentionality is huge. I would love for people to be awake and intentional with the things that they're doing, rather than doing things by rote, or rather than finding themselves going, oh, you know, I looked up one day and all of a sudden we weren't having sex anymore. I would love for people to feel like they can be awake and alert and engaged with whatever it is that they're doing. Even if it's that they've decided not to have sex. If that was an intentional decision, that's great, chef's kiss. If that was I don't know, we just kind of fell into it, that breaks my heart. Because that means that at some point it was turned off in the mind and we're not doing it intentionally.
But what about single people who are dating?
Single people, same thing. Single people who are dating. If you want to engage in sexual activity with the other people that you are dating, let that be an intentional thing, as opposed to, well, I know that men these days want to have sex sooner, so I'm going to have sex sooner. No. Do you want to have sex sooner? Or do you want to have sex later? Do you want to have it at all? Do you want to have vaginal? Do you want to have anal? Like, these are the questions that you are asking yourself, so that when presented with another person, you're not having to I don't know, because you've never thought about it.
Right. Right.
And it's okay for you to have that conversation with them, especially if maybe they might be somebody who hasn't thought about it. Okay, well, let me encourage you and inspire you to think about it, because I thought a lot about this.
Right.
And I can tell you exactly the stuff that I'm okay with, and I might learn a little something from you if you're willing to engage in this.
Yeah.
If not, that's totally fine.
Yeah. I'm glad you said being intentional, right? Because so many times, and we talk about this here on the show, and especially for a lot of us as Black women, so many of us, and we started talking about it before the show, take breaks from dating. We experience this whole dating fatigue, and we're just like, you know what? I'm tired. I don't feel like dealing with anyone or anything right now. And it's like, the next thing you know, you look up, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I haven't dated anyone. I haven't seen this since this seems me. And it's like, you know, and by the time you are now going back into the sexual part, I feel like there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, well, I'll do that again when I meet this person, or I'll do that again when I meet that person, you know, not realizing that as we get older, biologically, your body has begun to change.
Yes.
So it's like, I've encountered folks who took that time off, met a great individual as they got older, and then it was like, oh, wait, this don't work anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. I didn't know, you know? So have you encountered that with any of your clients?
Maybe not that specific with my clients, but I have encouraged people when they have these periods of break between dating people, whether it's that they decided to not date at all and like I'm taking a break, or they've recently broken up with somebody and are just trying to figure things out, I always encourage people to be as introspective as possible and work on whatever it is that they need to internally.
Yeah.
That also includes sexual things. So it's not necessarily that you are having sex with somebody else, but maybe it's that you're spending a little bit more time getting to know your body and what touch feels like for you and what turns you on and what turns you off and exploring these things. You can do that solo. You can do that in between dating or what have you. So especially if we're talking about Black women, because we're not going to sit here and pretend like dating apps have not listed us as the least desirable group to date. Like, let's just say that. We know this for a fact that when people are swiping on these apps, by and large, are choosing people that are not Black women.
You are right.
They just are.
You are right.
And so those periods of break are probably going to be bigger. And when they do jump back into the dating and they find somebody who bites, who might have, 2 of the 10 things that they need in a partner, that they might jump on and they go, okay, well, I can compromise on this. I can compromise on that.
Yeah.
We still have to realize that when you do that, it needs to be an authentic decision, not an act of desperation for companionship.
Got you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love that.
I want to go back to the perception of sex because I want to say, I know, and I always tell this all the time. I grew up in a all boy family, Muslim dad, Christian mom, but old school mom, of course. And I think perception of sex or my body was not, how do I describe it?
Well, you was a heathen if you was thinking about doing anything.
If I was thinking about it,
Yeah.
If I was thinking about doing anything, but I was pretty much taught, and I'm trying to say it in the most.
No, just say
it. One, not to have sex before marriage. Two,
failed
I
there.
had my body was way more developed than the norm, right? That was frowned upon, right? We're talking about a Black little girl that
because you were there when you were overly sexualized.
I was right.
Yeah. Because of course it was your fault if you had hips and booty and breasts. It's your fault.
Yeah, you were sexualized.
That was your fault. That's an act of aggression. That's an act of you being fast. That's all of these other things. When really you were born in this body that developed without your control.
Right.
It
Totally
just
nothing to do with
and
that.
the way that everybody else responded to your body and what it meant to them then became your problem. Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
With you, thank you, doctor. When you summed it up that way, that is exactly what I've been trying to express. Like, totally, the way it grew is not my fault, has nothing to do with me, genetics or yada, yada. But you have those old school people who put a lot of pressure on me. And I got told many of the most derogatory things, or that I can't walk this way, or I can't jump rope, or I can't do this in front of you. Know what I mean? It was very like whatever. So now here I am, a little older, and I'm being transparent, a little older. And sometimes with me, I think that shapes the way you view sex. What do you think about that?
Is that trauma?
Yeah, it absolutely is. The generational trauma of growing up female, that could be a whole other topic. That could be a whole other dissertation.
Okay.
Because the girl, and I'm not saying that they don't have it bad still. I'm not saying that misogyny is not still very much ingrained, because it absolutely is. But young girls growing up now have benefited from the fact that we and I would say Gen X, millennials, maybe even Gen Z as they become parents, have benefited from the fact that it happened to us and we hated it. And we did not like it. We did not want to contribute to that. And we didn't want to say that, oh, this young girl, she's fast, she's this, she's that, and allow for other people to look at her and place upon her all of these different stereotypes and other BS that does not need to be placed onto a child. Right. And so they have a much more nurturing and encouraging and supportive environment where they're not being told that. And if other people say it, we're shutting it down very quickly and saying, absolutely not. That is gross. No, you are the one who's weird for looking at her in that way. Absolutely. And so we didn't have that growing up. No, we didn't have that. It was very, and my most generous self wants to say that the reason why they did it, meaning our parents and grandparents, is because they didn't know any better. They didn't know what else to do. The same. That was how they were raised. Mm-hmm. It was wrong, and we're fixing it, but it still lingers. Yeah. It still sits there. It still is there in the back of our mind. So there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen overall. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm a sex therapist to begin with. There's a lot of unlearning. There's a lot of dismantling that has to happen in order for people to feel like they are able to do all these things that we just said. Like, it's easy for me to say that, yes, this is what we do and we explore it. But when you have all that going on in the back of your mind, it's a barrier to you feeling like you can. It's a barrier to you feeling like you can set those limits and boundaries with dating instead of just going along with whatever the other person says.
I always want to speak to that. I always want to speak to that because there's a lot of times I think we always try on this show to talk about taboo conversations that we generally don't have, right? And so the experience of, and this is, this is for everyone. This is for whomever that's in a relationship, but just the experience of a little black girl who was, overly formed, just chest and behind and hips before. There is a trauma that comes with that. There is a questioning of just certain things within yourself. There is you're not always confident. Like, it wasn't always a confident thing. I used to wear, people used to laugh at me. I literally wore turtlenecks and covered up because it was just so bad in my mental.
The shoulders forward that would happen when the development happened. The concave shape that you would try to do so you wouldn't see it. Yes. Yeah. That was deep and it was real. And I think alongside that, the silent suffering that also was going on simultaneously was also with our boys, and how I can't tell you the number of men who talked about their first sexual experiences and they're giving you single digit numbers. 7, 8, 9 years old. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? It's like, that's not, that is not okay. Yeah. But it's pushed aside and it's not thought of in any kind of way because that was a part of you being a man, or boys will be boys and all this other kind of stuff. That is awful, but we don't talk about that. Yeah. It's just a whole lot in that generational trauma of people really parentifying and adultifying children, especially when they are Black children.
Right. Yes. And so going through that trauma, how do you find your sensuality now, right? So that's my question. Whether you've had therapy or you haven't had therapy or whatever, because everybody has a different situation. For those who are adults now and you're whatever age group now, how do you find this sense of self? How do you find that sensuality and how do you do that?
I encourage people to let's say if you're not doing it with a therapist, because I'm sure there are things that I could say if what you would do in therapy, but let's say you don't have a therapist or you're not going to therapy. I would say you exploring how you feel or what you think about things on your own by yourself, whether it's journaling or, thinking about something or doing a voice note to yourself, just really throwing out on the open road. How do I feel about this thing? Because I think sometimes we have a lot of automatic thoughts that never get challenged. And we never get to ask ourselves, where did I get that? Where did I learn that from? Who taught me that? Because I think when you do that, when you say like, oh, I think that, young girls should always put on long pants when there are men in the house. Okay, great. That's a wonderful place to start. Why? Where does that come from? Who taught you to do that? And when you had to do that, how did you feel when you had to do that? So that's what I mean. Like think about some of the things that you say and do all the time and challenge yourself to go, why? Where did that lesson come from? Who taught me that? If I had a kid that was that age in front of me, would I tell her the same thing? Right. Why am I telling her something different if that's what I think? stuff like that. So challenging your thought process and challenging what it is that you've accepted as true and as gospel, and see if you feel differently when you have to defend it to yourself, not to somebody else, but to yourself. And you may find that you have a lot that needs to be unpacked. And then you can call a therapist and be like, hey, I got some stuff that I would love to have a navigator to help me figure it out. And they go, yes, absolutely.
So the journey to sensuality is unpacking. The journey to sensuality is unpacking. You have to.
It is unpacking. It is challenging automatic thoughts.
Not doing that pole class or anything like that.
No, the pole class.
No to the pole class.
You can.
No.
You can also, but that pole class is not going to solve everything. No one thing, in my mind, no one thing is going to solve everything. It's usually a symphony of things that you do.
Okay. Yeah. The journey to sensuality is unpacking, and then what did you say?
Challenging automatic thoughts.
Challenging automatic thoughts. That is the journey to sensuality.
I think that is
okay. Listen, because we're over time right now, so we're over. So listen, we're going to talk behind the scenes because I'm gonna see if you're free next week and the next week, and we just going to keep this thing going on.
This was wild. Like this was like something. I have so many questions.
We have so many questions, and I'm going to take questions for everybody in the chat. And they have been talking in the chat the entire time, and we did not have a chance to really get to it. Just one of the funniest things, Khadijah said, "Okay, so retire the Gawk 2000 at 50." Got it. Okay, so listen, that's that. Yusuf said, men are trained to calmly accept that a woman isn't in the mood, but I guess not vice versa. Faye said, yes, my pastor told us in premarital counseling not to wait until something happens to go into marriage counseling. And then, Jessica said 1 to 2 years. Oh my God. And then, what did Camilla say? She said, similarly, I just watched a video earlier about fathers caring for the basic hygiene needs of their daughters. Yes. I'm glad there was a clap back to it.
Men that won't like watch their daughters or with their daughters
all of that. So
I could talk about that, but yes,
Oh my God, yes.
So we have so many more questions. And there was so much more coming from the audience. I do want to take more questions from everybody in the chat. You guys can send us the questions throughout the week, and then I just want to go over them next week when we come back. So again, Janelle Watson, you are amazing. If we are out in LA anytime soon, we are going to make sure that we find you. I don't know, maybe book a session. I'm not sure. But,
definitely book a session.
If you take clients, I don't know, can you take clients outside of California? Or
it has to be within California because that's where I'm licensed.
Yep,
technically, I'm also licensed in Florida. So if somebody travels to Florida, I could see them there too. But California,
Miami. So there you go.
We always there.
So listen, yes. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Miss Watson. This was amazing today. We definitely want to have you back. I am going to be talking to you behind the scenes, like I said. To everybody in the chat, thank you so much. It is Sextober, so we are learning. We are learning all about our bodies and all of the differences and all the changes in you, changes in your partner, what to expect, how to rekindle, refine, and all of the things. So yeah, I'm ready for next week.
Me too.
Because I got more.
Oh, I got questions too.
Yeah, I got more. I got more for next week.
But this was great. I appreciate you so much. I think you covered a vast amount of things. I think things that we think in our head and that we don't discuss out loud. And we on this show love doing that. We love actually just having the conversation like it's over tea or wine or whatever, but having the conversation that a lot of it is in our head, and if we could get it out of our head, it would make us. Yeah. Will you agree?
Yes. Getting it out of your head is essential because it will drive you crazy being bottlenecked up here. Yes. Because then everything is going to feel like it's true, and it's not. It's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Thank you so much for today.
Love you guys.
Hopefully we'll have you back next week. Thank you so much. To everybody who was watching today, we love you all. We love you all for watching. We love you all for listening. God willing, we'll be back here next week, same time, same place. It will be a different show with more questions about sex because it is Sextober.
Sextober.
It is Sextober. All right, Jeff. Good night, everybody. Take us away.
We love you guys.